referred as growth intelligence. He At AppFire, he's helped build a product-led growth and analytics system that essentially influenced about 170% of uplift in the ARR, and primarily through the growth intelligence modules that he and his team worked on. Michael has a long background in both product and analytics, and he specializes and he's focused primarily right now on turning out all these product signals into a way to accelerate your activation, way to essentially increase customers' usage of the product, reduce churn, and various other segmentation that GTM teams would do and would be needing for something like this. So we're going to have a fun time today. So if you've started to look into some of these growth intelligence, this would be a good podcast. By the way, this podcast is live streamed on LinkedIn and YouTube. This is the second time we are trying this. So if you're seeing any glitches over there, so we'll probably take that off next time. But in the meantime, Michael, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Guru. Really looking forward to talking about that. Thanks for the kind intro. This is the subject that I could talk about for hours, so I will try to be concise and not make this go hours.
Thank you, Michael. So, Michael, your background is very interesting. A lot of our listeners have been, mostly, either product growth specialists. They are either founders or growth leaders at various SaaS companies. There's quite a few investors there as well. Could you maybe explain a little bit of, how did you go from someone in the product space to an analytics to now spanning across the board into growth intelligence? Maybe touch upon your you have an interesting background. You started off with Atlassian and various other things over there, and then you've now spanned very horizontal, very broad approach towards growth intelligence. So I think the listeners would love that background.
Yeah, sure. So, to start with, I'm one of those guys that back in 7th grade, I knew I wanted to be a developer. So I am what I wanted to be when I grew up. And as it turns out, I started coding, and then got into selling software, got into selling services around it, delivering services, and then had the opportunity with some great friends of mine, Randall Ward and Matt Galvin, who's the co-founders of AppFire, were just starting to build a product practice. And they asked me to help them found their product practice. So that's how I pivoted into product, from kind of doing everything but product around software development and delivery and so forth. And so I came to AppFire and helped found the product practice. And before I had come, I had also done a fair bit of data work. I'd run some data integration teams, run some analytics teams before, more general purpose, application integration, Salesforce oriented, and so forth. So when I was at AppFire and doing product work and having a lot of fun and actually working on a couple of their top analytics products that they sell for embedding in the Atlassian suite, it came to time to really get serious about product-led growth, really get serious about growth approaches. And we started building out a growth team, and we knew we needed to build out a real solid analytics practice. So I got to take all that experience I described and tune the data experience and got a great opportunity to build out a product analytics team. And the funny thing is, AppFire had analytics. They had pretty simple analytics setup, and you could tell when I looked at the configuration, it was basically a checkbox. Oh, we should implement analytics. Therefore, the engineering team went in, implemented analytics. There was no intent. There was no roadmap. There was no objective with it. It was just the user did the thing. Okay, let's record that they did the thing. But they didn't start with questions. They didn't start with goals. So that was the first thing I did was working with my peers in growth to say, okay, what are we trying to do with this data? What are our objectives with this product? And the funny thing is, so AppFire is the largest Atlassian marketplace vendor. They're the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Atlassian was one of the founders of product-led growth. The Atlassian marketplace is entirely product led, and yet there was no product led approach. It was very much backward looking. How much revenue we're generating, how many trials converted, how many customers have churned, but no growth oriented focus on the analytics. So that's where we started shifting, was taking a growth intelligence approach, moving from looking backwards to actually backwards to what happened with our customers, with our trials, and pivoting to understanding the why and understanding what we could influence to improve activation, improve conversion, and so forth. It was a great experience. I'll always be grateful for it. I was asked to do that, and it's turned into a big passion of mine.
Yeah, I think Michael, you mentioned a couple of bullet points. So thank you for sharing the background there. I think as you joined this particular team, you mentioned that analytics was there as a tick mark. Mostly focused on the user, on not even the user journeys, but the
Yeah,
struggling of the
revenue,
session,
basically.
right?
Yeah,
But the organization leadership team was focused on lagging indicators, which is like revenue churn, and you were more interested to say, hey, this happens because of certain things that the end users or the accounts are experiencing. So that shift from going after the lagging indicators, measuring that as your primary North Star metric, to looking at the leading indicators. I think you've mentioned, and you talked about this. You wrote about this on your LinkedIn, extensively about the rear view mirror issue. Uh, could you maybe share your thoughts on how did you, when you found out that the leadership team was focused purely on the lagging indicators, like revenue focused, all of that, and that there needs to be an organizational change to shift more to the left side of the equation where the users are experiencing the product for the first time. The whole, user journey that you mentioned about and the growth really starts from that particular experience. So maybe walk through that shift a little bit on how did you go from being on the very right side of the shift, which is the revenue indicators, to the left side of the shift, which is understanding the user journey, understanding where the growth bottlenecks are.
yeah. Well, I mean, first it started from really the top. The Appfire got its first round of significant investment in 2020, early 20. Oh, okay, you're gone. I'll wait for you to come back. Hey, Guru.
Hey there. So something happened here. I'm going to delete, all of these things. Riverside bombed. I opened a chat support ticket while we were gone. So
Yeah, well, like I said, your video is pretty low quality, so they may be concerned about your connection. I checked mine. I'm stable and fast, so I wonder if maybe also you're having a little bit of connectivity problems at the moment.
I don't seem to have any problems. I'll pause this for